The NFL just stopped in its tracks. Travis Kelce, one of the biggest names in football, just dropped a statement so unexpected that coaches, players, and fans across the league are scrambling to figure out what it means. This isn't about a game. This isn't about stats. This is something nobody saw coming, and it's sending shockwaves through every locker room in America. What did he say? And why is everyone losing their minds over it? Stick around, because what you're about to hear might change everything you thought you knew about this superstar. Let's rewind for a second. Travis Kelce isn't just any tight end. He's a 3-time Super Bowl champion. A future Hall of Famer. The guy who catches impossible passes, celebrates like he owns the stadium, and backs it all up with elite performance year after year. When Travis speaks, people listen. But this time was different. It started with a simple post. No warning. No press conference scheduled in advance. Just Travis, his words, and millions of people suddenly glued to their screens. Within minutes, sports analysts were breaking down every sentence. Former players were weighing in. Fans were flooding social media with theories, reactions, and pure disbelief. The statement hit like a lightning bolt on a clear day. So what exactly did he say? Here's where it gets interesting. Travis didn't announce retirement. He didn't call out a teammate or trash talk an opponent. What he did was something far more personal, far more vulnerable, and honestly, far more powerful than anyone expected from a guy who's built his reputation on being loud, confident, and unstoppable on the field. He opened up about pressure. Real pressure. The kind that doesn't show up on highlight reels or post-game interviews. Travis talked about the weight of expectations, the mental toll of being at the top, and the constant battle between who he is as a person and who the world expects him to be as a player. He didn't sugarcoat it. He didn't hide behind the usual athlete PR talk. He got raw. He got honest. And that honesty, that's what stunned everyone. Think about it. This is a guy who plays one of the most physically demanding positions in sports. Tight ends have to block defensive linemen who outweigh them by 50 pounds, then sprint downfield and catch bullets thrown at their heads while defenders try to separate them from the ball and their consciousness. It's brutal. It's relentless. And Travis has done it at an elite level for over a decade. But here's what most people don't see. The training camps that start in the blazing summer heat. The film sessions that stretch past midnight. The injuries that don't make headlines because you play through them anyway. The constant scrutiny, where every dropped pass gets replayed 1,000 times, and every celebration gets criticized as showboating or praised as personality depending on which talking head is yelling about it that day. Travis has carried that load while also becoming one of the most recognizable faces in sports. His relationship with Taylor Swift turned him into a global celebrity overnight, which brought a whole new level of attention that has nothing to do with football. Suddenly, cameras follow him everywhere. Everything he does becomes a story. Every game gets analyzed not just for football reasons, but for cultural ones. And through his statement, Travis acknowledged something that rarely gets said out loud in professional sports. Sometimes, it's exhausting. Sometimes, the persona you have to maintain doesn't match the person you actually are. Sometimes, you wonder if people love you for your achievements or just for the entertainment you provide. Here's where the statement took another turn. Travis didn't just talk about the struggles. He talked about change. He mentioned reevaluating priorities, focusing on longevity not just in football but in life, and making decisions that serve his well-being first. That last part sent alarm bells ringing across the NFL. Was he hinting at stepping away? Was this the beginning of the end for one of the greatest tight ends ever? Teams that face the Chiefs twice a year probably started celebrating. Chiefs fans felt their hearts drop. Fantasy football owners started panicking about their rosters. But let's pump the brakes and look deeper. Because what Travis said wasn't necessarily about leaving football. It was about approaching it differently. It was about being honest that even when you're living your dream, that dream can sometimes feel like a grind. And acknowledging that doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. The NFL has a complicated relationship with vulnerability. For decades, the culture has been about toughness, about playing through pain, about never showing weakness. Coaches still yell about being men and warriors and gladiators. Injuries get hidden. Mental health struggles get buried. You're supposed to sacrifice everything for the team, smile for the cameras, and never admit that sometimes you're struggling. But that's changing. Slowly. Players like Kevin Love and DeMar DeRozan in basketball opened up about anxiety and depression. Michael Phelps talked about his battles after the Olympics. In football, guys like Brandon Marshall and Solomon Thomas have been vocal about mental health. But a player at Travis's level, still in his prime, still winning championships? That hits different. Travis's statement matters because of who he is and when he said it. This isn't a player on his way out trying to explain a disappointing career. This is a champion at the peak of his powers saying, hey, even when everything looks perfect from the outside, it's complicated on the inside. That's brave. That's important. And that's why the entire NFL is paying attention. Let's talk about the reaction. Social media exploded. Some people praised Travis for his honesty, calling him a leader for opening up about something so many athletes feel but never say. Others questioned his timing, wondering if this would distract the Chiefs during a crucial part of the season. Sports debate shows spent entire segments dissecting every word, bringing in psychologists and former players to analyze what it all means. Current players started responding. Some shared their own experiences with the pressure of professional sports. Others posted support, thanking Travis for saying what needed to be said. Coaches were asked about it in press conferences. Opponents were asked if it changes how they see him. The statement became bigger than just Travis. It became a conversation about the entire culture of professional football. And here's something fascinating. The reactions split along interesting lines. Older generation players and analysts tended to be more skeptical, talking about how, back in their day, you just handled business and didn't complain. Younger players and fans were overwhelmingly supportive, seeing it as long overdue honesty in a sport that demands everything from you but rarely acknowledges the human cost. But beyond the immediate reactions, there's a bigger question lurking underneath all of this. What does it mean for the Chiefs right now? They're in the middle of another championship run. Patrick Mahomes relies on Travis as his security blanket, the guy who's always open when plays break down. The offense runs through him. If his head isn't fully in the game, if he's genuinely considering life after football, that changes everything. Andy Reid, the Chiefs head coach, addressed it briefly. He talked about supporting his players as people first, athletes second. He mentioned having conversations with Travis and feeling good about where his head's at. But you could sense the concern underneath the coach speak. When your star tight end starts publicly questioning the grind, you pay attention. Teammates rallied around Travis. Patrick Mahomes posted support. Other Chiefs players echoed the sentiment that mental health and well-being matter more than wins and losses, though everyone knows in a competitive locker room, wins and losses matter a whole lot. The support seemed genuine, but you could also sense the questions nobody wanted to ask out loud. Is he okay? Is he thinking about walking away? How do we move forward if he's not fully locked in? Let's zoom out even further. Travis Kelce's statement represents something bigger happening in sports right now. Athletes are reclaiming their narratives. They're refusing to be just entertainers who shut up and play. They're demanding to be seen as complete human beings with thoughts, feelings, and struggles that matter beyond their performance on game day. Simone Biles withdrew from Olympic events to protect her mental health and got both praised and destroyed for it. Naomi Osaka stepped away from tennis to deal with anxiety and depression. Now Travis Kelce is saying that even when you're winning championships and living what looks like a perfect life, you can still struggle with the pressure and expectations. This matters because kids are watching. Young athletes who put insane pressure on themselves to be perfect are seeing their heroes admit that perfection is impossible and trying to maintain that illusion is exhausting. That might save some kid from burning out before they even get started. That might help some young player realize it's okay to ask for help when things get overwhelming. But it also creates tension. Because sports, especially professional sports, is a business. Teams invest millions in players. Fans pay hundreds for tickets expecting peak performance. Sponsors want marketable stars who stay in the spotlight for the right reasons. When a player starts prioritizing their mental health and well-being over the relentless grind, it challenges the entire system. Here's what nobody's saying but everyone's thinking. If Travis Kelce, at the height of his career, is feeling this way, how many other players are silently struggling? How many guys are pushing through pain, anxiety, and exhaustion because they're terrified of being seen as soft or unreliable? How many careers end not because the body gives out, but because the mind can't handle one more season of the same pressure? The NFL is a machine that chews players up and spits them out. The average career lasts 3 years. Most players leave the game broken in some way, whether physically, financially, or mentally. The ones who last as long as Travis are the exceptions, and we celebrate them for their toughness and longevity. But what if that toughness came at a cost we never talk about? Travis's statement forces us to ask uncomfortable questions. Is it worth it? Should we expect players to sacrifice their mental health for our entertainment? When does being a professional athlete cross the line into being unhealthy? And if players start prioritizing their well-being over winning, what does that mean for the sport we love? Now, let's get into what might happen next. There are a few possible paths forward. Option 1. Travis uses this as a turning point, finds better balance, and continues dominating for several more years while being more vocal about mental health in sports. He becomes not just a great player, but a leader in changing the culture around athlete well-being. Option 2. This is the beginning of the end. Travis plays out this season, maybe one more, then walks away earlier than anyone expected. He prioritizes his long-term health and happiness over adding more stats to an already Hall of Fame resume. He goes out on top, on his own terms, and never looks back. Option 3. The statement was a moment of vulnerability that he needed to express, but ultimately nothing major changes. He keeps playing, keeps performing, and this becomes a footnote in his career that people reference when talking about mental health in sports, but it doesn't fundamentally alter his trajectory. Which path seems most likely? That depends on what you believe about Travis and what you know about the NFL. The league has a way of pulling players back in, making them feel like they can't walk away, that they owe it to the team, the fans, the legacy. Retirement is hard when you're still good, when you're still winning, when everyone's telling you that you can't leave now. But here's what we know about Travis Kelce. He's never done things the way he's supposed to. He's loud when tight ends are supposed to be quiet. He celebrates when coaches want you to act like you've been there before. He dates pop stars and shows up on podcasts and builds a brand that goes way beyond football. If anyone's going to walk away on his own terms, it might be him. The statement also raises questions about life after football. What does Travis want to do when he's done playing? He's got a podcast with his brother Jason that's massively successful. He's acted, hosted shows, and proven he's got charisma beyond the field. He's financially set for life. Unlike most players who cling to the game because they don't know who they are without it, Travis has built an identity that doesn't depend on football. Maybe that's what makes the statement so powerful. He's not afraid to walk away because he knows he'll be fine. He's not trapped by the game. He's choosing to be there, and the moment that choice feels wrong, he has the freedom and resources to leave. That's rare. That's powerful. And that's terrifying for a league that's built on the idea that players need football more than football needs them. But let's be real. The NFL needs Travis Kelce. Not just the Chiefs, the entire league. He's box office. He's exciting. He's one of the faces of the sport. Losing him, especially if it's because the grind became too much, would send a message the league doesn't want to send. It would make people ask whether the NFL is doing enough to support player mental health, and that's a conversation Commissioner Roger Goodell would rather avoid. The timing of the statement is also worth examining. We're in an era where athlete empowerment is at an all-time high. Players have more control over their careers, more ways to make money outside the sport, and more platforms to speak their truth. The old model where teams and leagues controlled everything is dying. Travis's statement is part of that shift. Think about the bigger picture. Colin Kaepernick knelt and sparked a national conversation. LeBron James built a media empire and uses his platform for social issues. Athletes aren't just playing anymore. They're activists, entrepreneurs, influencers, and thought leaders. Travis talking openly about mental health fits into that evolution. Athletes are people first, and they're demanding to be treated that way. Here's something else to consider. Travis is in a relationship with Taylor Swift, someone who's been extremely open about mental health, boundaries, and self-care. It's impossible to know how much that's influenced him, but being around someone who prioritizes their well-being and sets boundaries even when the world demands everything from you probably has an impact. Maybe she's helped him realize it's okay to not be okay sometimes. The statement also highlights the difference between how we treat athletes and how we treat other celebrities. If an actor takes a break for mental health, we applaud them. If a musician cancels tours to recharge, we understand. But if an athlete admits they're struggling with the pressure, we question their toughness. That double standard is worth examining. So where does this leave us? Travis Kelce made a statement that shocked the NFL, not because it was controversial, but because it was honest. He admitted that being a superstar athlete is hard in ways that don't show up on the field. He opened a door for conversations about mental health, pressure, and well-being in professional sports. And he did it while still being at the top of his game, which makes it even more significant. Will this change the NFL overnight? Probably not. The culture is deeply ingrained, and change happens slowly in institutions this massive. But it matters. Every time a high-profile player speaks truth about their struggles, it makes it easier for the next person to do the same. Eventually, that creates real change. For Travis, the path forward is his to choose. He can keep playing and use his platform to advocate for better mental health support. He can walk away and prove that there's life beyond football. He can find some middle ground where he continues competing but with better boundaries and self-care. Whatever he chooses, he's already made an impact just by being honest. The NFL will keep spinning. Games will be played. Championships will be won. But every player who heard Travis's statement and felt a little less alone in their struggles just got a gift. Every young athlete who realized it's okay to prioritize mental health just learned an important lesson. And every fan who only saw the highlight reels just got reminded that the people making those plays are human beings dealing with very human challenges. Travis Kelce stunned the NFL because he told the truth. In a sport built on toughness and invincibility, he admitted vulnerability. In a culture that demands you sacrifice everything, he suggested that maybe some things are more important than winning. And in a moment when everyone expected him to just keep being the loud, confident superstar, he showed us something deeper. That's the real story here. Not that a player is struggling, because they all are in different ways. The story is that someone finally said it out loud, someone with enough status and security to not worry about the consequences, someone who might actually change the conversation. Whatever happens next, whether Travis plays 10 more years or retires tomorrow, this moment matters. The statement shocked people because it was real. And in a sport that's often more about image than reality, real is the most powerful thing you can be. The entire NFL is watching now. Waiting to see what Travis does next. Waiting to see if this opens the floodgates for other players to speak up. Waiting to see if the league actually addresses these issues or just hopes they go away. But one thing's for certain, the conversation has started, and there's no putting that back in the bottle. Travis Kelce didn't just stun the NFL with a statement. He challenged it to be better, to care more about the people playing the game, to recognize that mental health matters as much as physical health. Whether the league rises to that challenge remains to be seen. But at least now, everyone's talking about it. And sometimes, that's exactly where change begins.